Alright, this part of the video is going to be a companion piece to my material comparison video for canteen slash water containers, water vessels, what have you. And this one is going to specifically focus on some specific metal products that I have purchased as opposed to the other video that'll be more on the plastics. But this also means this video will sort of divert with the specific models into several sections for the single-walled metals, specifically single-walled stainless, the single-walled titanium, as well as sort of double-wall vacuum-sealed type of containers that I'll explain in a second. And the biggest thing with the double-walled containers is that you usually do not want to cook with them. This one has definitely seen some use under the flame, fire, camping, and what you can do is you can boil water with it, particularly if there's no plastic involved. And definitely one thing I like about this design is that this part here is just nylon cord and takes a specific bit of loving effort, but if you push that through right, you can definitely take that off and cook with this single-walled Nalgene container. Something in comparison like these double-walled containers, as I showed in the other video, or something like a Stanley mug. You can, not really, the sound test doesn't work. So you can tell that both of these, because they're anodized, you wouldn't want to throw them in the dishwasher. I don't know if this one's anodized, but you wouldn't want to throw them in the dishwasher, and certainly under heat it is going to take hours, perhaps, if not years. As I said in my other video, it might mean that it will take as long to boil the water inside the vessel as it would take for if you put hot water or cold water for it to adjust to room temperature, which usually these double-walled things are measured to last hours and hours and hours. So furthermore, you can break the seal, and that's going to be a very important part of this video because these thinner walls are not very durable, and a lot of the double-walled stuff I've tried in the past has been absolute crap. I think clean canteens that I've tried in the past have not been very strong, but again, most of these aren't rated to take a lot of drops too well. As you can see, this one's already got a lovely knock in the lip right there, which, while they're not as heavy as the single-walled, especially the better made ones, when you drop these anyways, more likely than not you're going to get a dent. But again, you wouldn't want to cook these in a fire, and you wouldn't put them in the dishwasher, and certainly even if you have to boil it in the fire, your chances of causing some form of breakage between the two layers and allowing water to get in, as you might see in some sort of cheaper plastic double-walled containers, you'll see that water gets on the inside through that see-through element, and that's no bueno, because the inside will start to mold. But so again, the reason you would get a stainless steel is very different from why you would get something like this. I wouldn't want to use either double-walled thing for camping. Both of these are stainless steel. Actually, I borrowed a titanium one here too. So again, it's just a double-walled titanium cup here. Even though this one is not a canteen, you can get something like that in stainless steel or titanium. And again, even though titanium can cook quicker than stainless steel, you wouldn't want to cook in something like this, just because it would take a long time and you might risk breaking the seal between the two layers of materials. But the reason why I would choose something like the double wall is, for something where I can clean it regularly, like at home. So again, it would be more like a replacement to glass or ceramic, just a higher priced version. But I would not take something like this camping unless it was something like a day trip, etc. Out of these three, from my own testings, I like the Hydro Flask. Oof, boy, it sounds like a piggy. Excuse me. Just because they have a guarantee, like Nalgene's, as I mentioned in the plastic video, where you can if it dents too much and you're not satisfied with it because it didn't last the length of time that you thought it should, you can usually return it and they'll give you another one. I think I've seen some reviews, and this will be a big problem with stainless, is rust, because not all stainless steels are alike. You can find some information on the internet of different qualities of stainless steel, but again, that'll be a big part in this video because sometimes it will lead to rust. But again, it's got, like in the plastic video, it's got the same size as the Nalgene cap. It's wide, but it's not, where it's going to shoot it in your face. And even though it does dent easy, that's all I'm going to say. But again, you get the guarantee with it, so choose what you want. The other double wall that I'm going to mention, unfortunately I don't have it on hand right now, is Arctic, RTIC. Now it's always worth checking the reviews, because I don't know if sometimes they change models. I think recently they changed the model. It's more like this design where it's an open top and you just put a cap on it, so it's not really a square. It's more of a silicone seal. See that there's a little bit of silicone right there, and when you put that in there, just for drinking coffee or whatever, it seals, but it's not good for traveling. The Arctic one that they use with that similar design is a very strong, well-made stainless steel. I would actually rate it higher than these two, but again, these two are ones that you can get a seal on the cap. And again, I don't know I think they recently changed products, or designs for their models, so things might have changed if you're buying that double fold. But in general, both of these are nice. Again, this has a satisfaction guarantee. I don't know, I think Stanley has one as well. It's heavy compared to this. It is nicely made. It's definitely nice for carrying stuff. And Stanleys have been known for carrying stuff like soups and other type of brothy liquids. So in general, I put these pretty comparable. This is definitely stronger than this one. And this feels a bit more reinforced, the bottoms, in case you do drop it. I would be a little bit concerned with this plastic enclosure snapping at some point, but it definitely creates a strong seal there. Again, there'll be a problem with the mouths on some of these, but it's not either of these. And this is just, again, for the double wall. But in general, all these are recommended. This works fine too. It's incredibly light. This is if you're willing to pay the definite price hike of titanium, because you'll probably be spending $50, $60, $70 to $150 for it. Again, the Arctic, this is a Snow Peak, which I mentioned in my last video, where most of I think the innovation is going on with titanium drinking vessels, but they don't even make a water bottle. I think they make a sake one, but they all have their own purpose. So, all right, I'm gonna move on from the vacuum seal here, just because it differentiates from the rest of the single-walled stuff and the intentions behind them. So how am I going to do this? I'll probably do titanium at the last part, but I'm just going to throw out some here. These are two, and I think this demonstrates my point about titanium. These are two that I actually got on eBay, and this one specifically was meant to be a sort of a knockoff of a World War II canteen, which wasn't the best. I mean, if you can find a World War II canteen, I'm sure it's well made, but this is junk. I think this was like 20 or 30 bucks, but I'm not going to mention the specific retailer for this just because I don't recommend it. But the mouth design on this is too small, which makes it incredibly hard to clean, and you don't get that benefit with plastic or glass where you can see through it. But these are actually both by the same person. I think this is just more of a modern design. I've seen examples where as much as you've seen in the plastic, it's nice to be able to carry this with one finger. Excuse me. The chain links on these have broken on me in the past, and I've actually seen other people echoed the same words. It's just not a very strong design. I cannot show it in this one, but I have taken a flashlight. I can't show it on the camera, but it is rusting. on the inside. So this is an example where the stainless steel is not to the same caliber as other ones. So you definitely have to be very specific on the brand that you are buying your steel from, especially if you're going to drink from it. Again, this has a better mouth design, especially for stainless steel when you can't see on the inside, and it's not enough to shoot in your face. But neither of these I would recommend, and it just needs to be a warning that you could spend the same price of like $30 and find something much better. All right, moving on. So here I have the Pathfinder water containers here. In general, they are of a higher quality than the eBay ones I just mentioned. Again, both of these are single walled, but they are, compared to everything else here, that they're only so much better than the ones I would consider the best. And furthermore, you are going to pay through the roof for this. I think these cost like $30 to $60. So you're just going to be, I think with the entire container now, these come with, I always forget what the heck they're called, but the mug type container for them as well. So you can cook this and you can eat and make other stuff for. And I just don't think that these are of the same quality as you can find with the Nalgene design that I will mention here in a minute. The advantage, I think, is really on this one. This one, just because I cannot find a higher quality stainless steel canteen shape as opposed to the sphere shaped ones. I think this is about as high of quality as you can get for this specific type. I don't think I've seen rusting in mine. I don't remember if I read of any rusting in these in general. I can't remember. I think there was something with the welding problem with someone I read on this one, but I don't quote me on that. Usually I think that the welding is on the inside of the thing here, although I think with this one it's probably going to be right there. And I have been concerned about this part because when you're cleaning it, son of a gun, I don't have my flashlight on me, but on the inside here you can see a little bit from the reflection on this part right here, that stuff will get trapped in there, especially if you're drinking anything besides water, or you have some debris in your liquid, or you're drinking something besides water. You could have bits that get stuck there, and I'd be cautious of that part specifically rusting based on that being welded here and not sealed from the inside. From this one, the welding is it's a line through here. I don't think that's going to be a problem in terms of durability. I'm sure some people will have a problem with it, but anyhow, I'm going to move on from here, actually. And again, the mouth designs on these are very well done, all things considered. Specifically with the titanium ones, I've had an issue with the mouth design. I'm going to go down just a bit of a step here, as well as I think that Stanley's double-walled is made. I don't think that this is their single-walled canteen that's online. I don't think it's as well made as the double-walled stuff. And here's sort of a trend I've noticed, is that Stanley's designs are more complex. I don't know how long they've been made in China instead of the US, but like I said, the more complex designs tend to become the more complicated, the more complications there usually are. The problem with this one is like when they went back to the simple part, it's like the steel on this one is of the same thickness as that double-walled one I showed at the beginning of this video, that green one. This one, just compared to the Pathfinder and then the Nalgene one I'll show at the end, that I just don't think the steel here is up to the same caliber as the others. The convenience with this one is the fact that you can take this lid off, but you can also still have a small nozzle to drink out of. Son of a gun. There we go. But all things considered, like I said, if you're gonna cook in this, there's no way to take that nylon strap off. So your advantage of choosing stainless steel for the ability to boil water in, it's not going to. You're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage there. Again, you could still use something. Well, actually, you can't use something like this either because, like I showed in that other video, this is one of the only shapes that doesn't actually fit in that. I think the other one was that plastic BCB British NATO Canteen. This one doesn't actually fit inside the standard canteen shape. So generally wouldn't recommend this one. But gonna move on here to the Nalgene stainless steel bottles here. And this is the same design, or the same company, just two different shapes. As you can see, this one's got a sort of a cone shape. I think most people online I've read tend to prefer this one, just because it stands up a bit easier on its own. In fact, see, this one doesn't even stand up on this surface. But this surface is also angled. I think in most carrying situations, if you're gonna carry, move around with the day-to-day, this will hold up fine on a desk. What I also like about this one, which is I think 32 ounces, this one's 40 ounces, is that this one will still fit in car holders, car cup holsters, etc. Whereas this one, there's no chance. There's no way in hell that's gonna happen. One disadvantage I do see with this one, though, despite the water that you can carry, is that if that bottom gets too dented up, then this will have an even harder time standing up on its own. Where something like this could withstand a lot more dents, still stand up, and might also be a little bit easier to correct with a hammer if you have to, try and mold the dents back up to that form. I actually have a couple dents on this one. I don't know if they'll be seen on the video, but I think this is it's called Nalgene now. As I mentioned in my plastic video, Nalgene has a satisfaction guarantee that I've used before and I've had success with, so I do recommend Nalgene on these terms. And again, I like the fact that Nalgene sticks to like two designs. They got their narrow mouth, as far as I know, and then they got their wide mouth. And again, here it's not a problem. In fact, I do prefer it, especially if you are using this for cooking, because you want to see what's inside your water. Again, I also like that loop here that Nalgene uses, and a lot of the other stainless steel ones here I showed did not have that, just because if you're carrying it around, you can loop your finger in there, you can carry it that way. And then again, it's not a problem when you do need to cook, because this tab here, if you can thread that nylon through, you can take the plastic vessel on top off. The threading's fine. I don't get too much leakage. I think all the stainless steel ones leak a little bit, but it's a tiny amount, and usually it's user error for just not squeezing it tight enough. These used to be called Guyot G-U-Y-O-T designs. I think Nalgene bought them out, so I don't think they're called the G-U-Y-O-T designs anymore. But again, now that Nalgene owns it, you get that satisfaction guarantee if you're not 100% satisfied in case of some error. But by far, these are I don't know if I already mentioned that, the thickest, again, by far single-walled stainless steel containers to every other one. Again, that might be problematic, because the more weight you have when you drop it on concrete or something, it's going to increase its chances of getting a dent. But I still think that something like these are going to hold up the best. And I think that the steel, hold on, excuse me, I think the steel on these ones is the highest quality in comparison to everything else that I have shown. The final vessel, actually two, is the stainless steel ones, or not titanium. And where is the other one? All right. So again, I already showed the titanium cup, the double-walled one made by Snow Peak or whatever it's called. But here we have a Keith and a Vargo. And again, other than Snow Peak, I think they're the only one that's made outside of China right now. There's not a lot of innovation that's going on with titanium in general, other than what I have seen at Snow Peak. There's designs, but so far I have not found one that performs as well as some of the other basics with plastic, the USGI, the Nalgene's, or stainless steel Nalgene's or the Pathfinder bottles. This one I think is sold on another website, typically the Keith one. But the thing about titanium is again, it is so strong for its weight. But again, the designs are problematic. With this one specifically, this one is one I actually borrowed, so I don't have a ton of experience with it. Again, with all of them, you mostly get a titanium cap, which means you're going to get this awful squeak when you open and close it. But also this one, because it's not threaded well enough on this inside, it leaks water like crazy. The company that distributes this is Heavy Cover, by the way. It's on this side. It just, there's an awful squeak. And I think they do send out a plastic cover. It minimizes it somewhat. In my other video, I mentioned that you might be able to use something like beeswax on the threading here, and that might take care of some of the squeak and the water leaking. But unless I've been sent to dud, I've had this actually for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's still, you can't seal it tight enough without some water leaking outside of it. So I think in general, like most stainless steel ones, like you can see here, or here, the threading is on the outside, which what I mean by that is, see, I mean, the threading's here and it seals on the outside as opposed to the other way around. So even when water does leak, it tends to stay minimal and on that inside part right here, as opposed to with this one where it just shoots out of the top here. I don't remember if there was another problem I had with this one or not. Again, it's tight. I've dinged this one up. I've dropped it quite a bit camping, and it's actually, I have sustained a couple dings, but it took a lot more. It took a lot more than stainless steel, and it took some pretty extreme situations, pretty stupid situations on my part where it ended up getting dinged up. As for this Vargo one, in general, I have some other Vargo utensils and I have not had the best luck. But some companies always make some products better than others. So with my experimenting with this is the better container titanium wise that I've used. I'll usually try to recommend one sphere shape and one canteen shape, but in this situation, you don't have much to choose from. This one I think has all the advantages that I see from my stainless steel containers, meaning you can still or the Nalgene ones where you can still loop your finger in there. You can't really remove this part here. Well, you can, but you're going to have to find a way to loop it back in there through the paracord, or you're going to have to cut it off. The cap is definitely the heaviest part of this, and it probably is part of the price because I think this thing costs like $150, so it's prohibitively expensive. Whereas with the Keith one, for around the same price, you get the container for it as well, which is a little floppy, but it gets the job done. Again, in my other video, I described the problems with cooking in titanium, the fact that A, it cooks really fast, which is a good thing, but B, it tends to burn really fast. It tends to eat up oils and butters really quick too. So I think that's about all. The threading here is definitely well made. If there was a titanium one I would recommend, again, you just don't have much options. The Vargo one to me seems like the best well-made bottle at the moment. I'm sure that's going to change in a few years though. Either they'll improve on this design or you'll get better, canteen shapes, etc. So far I just have not seen a problem with this one. You still get a slight bit of the squeaking, but it's not as bad as the Keith one. And definitely the water seal is much improved. So I think at the end, what would I recommend? Um, I'm not going to, again, you only have two options for titanium, and plus for both of them, you're going to be paying over 100 for them, as far as I know. So, unless you're willing to experiment, I think the Vargo Botto at the moment is the only titanium one I would recommend right here, just because that the water spillage in the Keith is pretty much unacceptable to me, and the squeaking is bad, but it's not something that's going to be the end of my day. But again, if you're willing to pay for it, go for it. The Nalgene ones, again, are the main ones that I recommend here, just because you get that satisfaction guarantee. They're only about $30, whereas I think the Pathfinder ones are a little bit more. It's the thickest steel, etc. The vacuum sealed ones, again, I think they all each have their purpose depending on your own wants. I think the vacuum sealed ones that I recommended here are good, but in general, the experience I've had with vacuum seals have been bad. They're not typically very durable. They tend to dent to a point of damaging the item. I think as a runner-up, though, I think it is worth mentioning the Pathfinder ones. I don't think they're as well made as the Nalgene's as a single-walled vessel, but the Pathfinder ones already give you a system, whereas when you're buying the Nalgene, you're only going to get the bottle, and you're going to have to buy, if you want some type of a container like this, where you want the, for the bottle shape like here, you get this with the Nalgene. You don't get it with you get it with the Pathfinder, but you don't get it with the Nalgene. So, with the Nalgene, I think they include a case for them as well, some system to carry them. So, the thing that's nice about the Nalgene is it takes care of that system for you. Again, I'm a bit concerned about the weld marks here, even though I think this is, out of all the Canteen shapes I've seen from the world, myself that I've tested, and from the online, I think this is probably your best Canteen shape you're going to get stainless steel that's made today. Might have been different 20 years ago, but now everything steel and titanium's almost universally made in China, and you don't have a ton of options. So, but other than that, this would definitely be my runner-up to the Nalgene design. Again, I just think that the Nalgene gives you that guarantee. The Nalgene uses a much thicker steel. I think it's a higher grade steel that the Nalgene uses, and that's why I would recommend it. So, anywho, there's my recommendations. If you have any questions or anything I missed, maybe I'll have to redo this at a later date. Thank you for your time.